Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, let's see if I can get this up. This is the painting she did. I'm not sure, sometime this past week then. Really beautiful.
I'm not seeing it pop up. I still see you.
You see me? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe I can do it this way. Can you guys see it now?
Not yet.
I thought it was really powerful. I love how she did the background. Julia, do you get a chance to see it?
No, it's still not showing up for me. Is anybody else seeing it yet?
No.
No? Oh. Hmm.
You went to the bottom, right? It's got like the little dropout menu for share screen.
Yeah, maybe I didn't share.
Oh, and now it says you joined. Hold on. It might be that extra window at the bottom. Yep, there it is.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
You guys see that? If you scroll down through all of our names in the little sidebar, another window with Jane's name popped up, and it should be showing everybody. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I
Is it acrylic?
You know, I'm not really sure.
It says it's oil.
Oh, oil? Okay. Yeah, so again, I saw this on her Instagram and asked her if we could share it maybe to some of our social media. I thought she really captured an essence from some of the pictures we've seen, and I thought I'd share it with you. You know, this week's been such a rough week, and and talk a little bit. Julia had put on her social media, maybe talking a little bit about our emotions and everything that we've been seeing this week and stuff like that. But I'm going to give it over to Julia, and yep, and I will start texting the rest of the crew. They're slowly coming in though.
Okay. So for this week, what I figured we'd do is I was going to do the activity that I had planned for last week, but I was hoping that, let me just turn so I can actually see you guys. I was hoping that during class day, we could maybe just kind of share, if anybody wants to, just like how this week has maybe affected you creatively. If you're seeing any of this, like, you know, because these are hard things that are going on right now. And I know for me as an artist, I've definitely had it come out in some of my work that I'll share with you guys. But I would love to hear if anybody is already doing that as well. And if you want to share a piece, or if you want ideas, or if you're having a hard time like processing through things, you know, that's something we could also use some of this time to talk about. So what I'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll start going through just the activity that I had already, because I want you guys to see the wax resist technique. But we'll definitely save part of the end of class then to go on and talk about all that other stuff, and maybe even begin to talk about if we want to take our next couple weeks. I don't know if we got approval or not yet, but if we do, maybe we could take our next couple weeks in that direction of, like, you know, looking at what's going on and bringing it into our practice a little bit more. So, all right. Let me just get this down for a sec. So last week, my plan was I was going to start taking us towards working with some collage techniques, which we've already been doing a little bit of that, but I wanted to show you guys how to do a pretty cool wax resist technique that I have right here. You can kind of see those areas where the white's showing up in a pattern, in the mouse and down here in the elephant as well. So I'm going to show you guys a really simple way of doing this, and you can apply it over any type of paper. For the elephant and the mouse, I did it on watercolor paper, but then for these extra elements in the background, I did it on just some of my collage paper. So let's go ahead and just walk through what we're going to need first. So you're going to need assorted patterns of your multicolor or patterned collage paper. You're going to need your watercolor paints and your brushes, markers, scissors, hot glue gun and sticks, and a white crayon or a piece of wax from a candle. So I know we didn't have this in our kit, but like I said, if you guys have a crayon laying around, if not, you could grab a candle. Just a note, the really soft wax candles won't work. So for example, if you have a candle that's in a jar, that's not going to work. You're going to want to try to find a candlestick or an emergency candle because those are like a harder type of wax. Now, optionally, you could also use some acrylic paint, colored pencils, or really anything else that you want to add into it. But those are just optional items. Okay, so for step one, you're going to want to lay out your papers and choose colors and patterns that look good together. While I show you guys the resist pattern, I'm going to be kind of doing the steps along with you. So let me just pull some of my papers that I thought would look good together. So again, I just, when I'm looking at starting a collage, before I even actually draw anything out, I just kind of try to find common themes like color themes or pattern themes. And I thought to work with like this kind of warmer palette and have like the cooler silver, just be a little pop of something different. So just kind of find things and group them together that look visually good together. And just set those aside once you have them. For step two, I want you to do a rough sketch of your design idea on a scrap piece of paper first. So for example, I just want to plan out how my spread is going to work rather than just cutting out a whole bunch of things and trying to make them work on the paper after. That's part of developing as an artist. You want to start to begin to have a little bit of planning in mind and start to think about where things go. And when you plan ahead, it gives you a chance to experiment too and just see, does this work better here or does it work better over here? How does this interact with that? So doing the rough sketches ahead of time is an extra step, but I think it's worth it. And it really helps you to kind of grow in your thought process and decision making. Okay, so for step three, you're going to want to plan out your wax resist areas. So again, I chose to do mine mostly on the elephant and the mouse. You can see I did a little bit in the background where the sun is and a little bit on the clouds as well. But I chose not to do it everywhere. I didn't want it in my background or like on my grass or anything because I thought it would just be too much. So I started to think about exactly where I wanted those elements to be. Okay. Oh, one other thing. So you're going to want to make sure that you wait to cut out these elements until after you've done the wax resist. And that's kind of important because you want it to, you don't want it to have just be like a sharp edge. You want that wax resist to cut and the colors to kind of bleed off a little bit. So hold off on cutting them first. Okay, so for step four, you're going to begin drawing a pattern over the areas you want to resist. So just to give you an example, let me grab my little sample sheet here. So I decided for this one, you can't really see my sketch too well because it's pretty light, but I'm working on a fish on this. So you can see I haven't cut it out yet or anything. I just sketched my design. Now I'm going to take a sharp point white crayon or a piece of wax, and I'm just going to start drawing out some patterns. So maybe I'll do some scales and some swirls and spirals and zigzags. And I'm just kind of doing them all within that animal shape. And just a tip, I find that this seems to work best if you do bigger designs versus like really, really tiny stuff. It doesn't seem to show up very well. So you can see I'm doing my spirals and squiggles pretty big. And you'll be able to see it better once I add that watercolor layer over top. Okay. So looking at my design, I'm thinking I want to keep it concentrated mostly to the body of the fish. And I think I'm going to do something with like some pop-up collage elements over for the fin. So I'm going to hold off on doing those. But right now I've filled my entire body of my fish with my wax design. Okay. So step 5, you're going to grab your watercolors and your brushes. Oops. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna want, as you layer the watercolor over top of your design, you're gonna want it to be really more pigment rich than water rich. So I'm gonna dip my brush in the water, and I'm just gonna really try to load it up with whatever color it is that I'm using. A lot of pigment, not as much water. So just give me a minute to kind of get some of that. Okay. So once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and take my brush, and I'm just going to start adding in however you want little strips of color. I'm thinking I want to do like oranges and a little bit of red, maybe some brown. So I'm just going in, kind of adding that right over top. And again, you can see in the areas where I've added the color, the wax is starting to resist and show us that pattern from underneath. And I'm trying to make sure that there's a lot of pigment, because the more pigment, the better it seems to resist for some reason. Maybe it's just that it's showing up better because there's more color. But I'm gonna go ahead, I think I'll bring a little bit of brown in here as well. We'll see how that looks. And maybe just a bit more of this red. Now I know it's probably hard for you guys to see, but I can still kind of see my pencil lines underneath this, so it's okay that I'm being really messy. You can see I want to make sure that I bring the edges of that wax resist past where my pencil lines are. All right, I think that's pretty good. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry. Okay, so once, as it's drying, or once it's all dry, you can start to cut them out. So I'm going to start cutting mine while we're waiting for it to dry completely. And I'm just leaving a little bit of space around where my pencil outline was. And I'm just about done with it. Okay, so you can see I've got my general shape cut out. All right, I'm just going to set that aside for a second. Oops. All right, after you're done cutting everything out, and once it's all dry, you're going to go ahead and pick up your journal. And what you're going to want to do is, again, if you have acrylic, it could be cool to have some contrast and do the background in acrylic, but watercolor will work fine, marker will work fine. I thought the acrylic would be nice in this case because the watercolor, especially with the wax resist, is just such a light feel. It's like very kind of airy almost. And I thought it'd be cool to have something a little bit more solid and grounded behind it. So all I did was I took my acrylics and my brush and just did like kind of a streaky pattern, kept it really loose, really, you know, kind of bold. Okay. So for step 8, you're going to want your design to be completely dry. I think mine might be dry enough. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of try to work with it. Let me just give it a little dab. Yeah, that should be good. So you're going to want your design to be dried off for the most part. And you're going to take your markers or your colored pencils. And basically what we're going to do is add in a little bit of definition and detail over top of our wax resist elements. And I'll just show you, like you can see where I've done it on my elephant and on my mouse, just so that it can really kind of show you exactly what it is. Without the definition, it is kind of hard to tell, even with the pencil line or wax outlines. So I would definitely recommend adding in that extra detail. So I'm just going to take a second and try it on the fish. Maybe I can actually hold it up here while I do it. Yeah, so just a little bit of definition, just so you can start to see things like the eyes, if there's any nostrils or any arms or anything like that. Okay. So step 9, you're going to go ahead and take your hot glue gun, make sure everything is glued down really well. Again, making sure too that your background is completely dry, especially with that watercolor and acrylic, it won't hold the glue. So if it's not really dry, so make sure that you give it some time. And then step 10, you can add finishing details with colored pencils or even additional non-waxed elements. So you can see, for example, decided with the grass, I didn't want to do any waxing on that. So I added that in. With the moon, I just found a cool piece of reflective paper and I thought that would be nice to add in. And then with the mouse, at first I just had it be like a whole strip behind him, but then I thought I wanted to hide him a little bit. So I added that extra layer as well. So these are all things that you can go back in and kind of take a look after the fact and say, well, what would balance this out here? Do I need something more visual interest over here? You can just start to make some of those choices. I'm looking at it now. I kind of wish actually that I had done some cloud work with the acrylic behind the elephant and the sun and everything. But you know, you can always go back and add whatever you want after the fact too. And once you have all that, then you're all done. So this one was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I would say spend a little bit more time kind of working with this wax technique. This is just an easy exercise to get you into like an introduction to doing it. But once you become a little bit more comfortable doing it and working with the technique, I actually had a chance to do it before on fabric. And I ended up making like almost scarves and things like that. You couldn't really wash them, so they were more like tapestries you could hang. But they came out really cool. So if we end up having more time together, maybe we can even experiment with doing that as well. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and have you guys unmute. And what we'll do is if anybody has anything they want to share, I guess we could just mix it. If you have anything that you wanted to share from last week, or if you have anything that you want to share in regards to this week, we could talk about that too. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the pieces that I've been working on this week in response to the protests and just everything that's going on. And then we'll jump in and, you know, kind of have a little conversation on it. So let me just put this to the side. So actually, the first thing I'm going to show you guys is part of this. I've already showed you the first one of these. Did I show you guys this last time we met? No, okay. So what I'm working on now for the past couple weeks was a series of different people that I feel like have made really cool advances in the Black community. So the first person is Amy Sherald, and she is actually the artist that was commissioned to do the portrait of President Obama. So for this series, I'm trying to pick out people that like maybe we've heard of, but aren't necessarily super recognized in like the mainstream media. So I thought it'd be cool to do that. And I'm doing them really small. Now, the reason for that is that I find that I work on so many really big pieces and it takes so much time. So I wanted this to be something where it's almost like a fun exercise for me and it's not overwhelming. So I thought it'd be a great way to do it is to do these little miniature portraits. So this is the first one I did. And it was really cool. Amy Sherald actually saw it and liked it.
Oh, wow.
She messaged me about it. So I got really excited about that.
So can you tell me how come you decided to do circles? And also how you see these being framed? Like, as my husband's a painter, I'd be like, oh, these are going to be impossible to frame.
Yeah.
What do you know? So that's through my mind too. So I'm curious how you made some of the choices.
Well, so the circles, I totally agree with you with the framing. It's definitely like a real concern. But I had an idea before I started them. I knew I wanted to do something circular. Like I just thought it would look cool compositionally, and it'd almost be like a little, kind of like a little tiny window, which to me seemed kind of cool. But I'm kind of looking off camera here because I think I found a good solution for the framing. What I did was I was looking at her embroidery hoops and I was like, this could actually work really well if I take the canvas and I almost stretch it over it and then do the hoop over top and then do 2 of those, and I could have like a little mini frame for it. So,
Okay.
and I painted one gold. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. It works out well.
So how did you decide to do the circles then? Because you said, or is that because of the window idea?
I just honestly, like, I thought, yeah, like it looks sort of like a little, I forget what kind of windows they're called, but like you see them on ships and stuff like that. But honestly, I just thought visually it would look interesting to me. Like we're so used to working in a square or rectangular format. And it felt like something about it, I don't know, just seemed more like creatively inviting to me to like work with a circle format.
Yeah. All right. And how do you keep the edges from fraying?
Well, it's just on canvas, and the canvas is pre-primed.
Oh.
So yeah, it really doesn't go anywhere, thankfully.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. To be on some of those choices.
No, that's okay. This is the second one I did. So this is Jason Brown, and he is an former NFL player. The reason I picked him, he's not super well known, and I'm surprised his story hasn't like been a much bigger deal because he was at the highest paid. I think he wasn't a quarterback. He was like I'm not good with football, but he's like some important position, and he was the highest paid in it ever. And he played for a couple of years. He had like a $35 million contract. He played for, I want to say like 4 years of that contract. And then he still had millions more that he could have made from it. But he decided that he wanted to leave football and start a farm, which he would be giving away the things that he grew from the farm to those in need. So that was like the whole mission of his farm.
Wow,
and it's still,
I've never heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Jason Brown. And I also have him featured on my Instagram. So if you guys follow me, you can see his little blurb. But yeah, I just thought that was neat that somebody would have such an amazing career and then say, oh, I want to switch from this already amazing thing to do something that's like completely about serving other people. And apparently like the amount of work that he's doing is significant and really contributing to like cutting down on hunger in his area. I think it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll show you guys is a bigger piece. As you know, the protests have been going on, and I wanted to go out and do kind of my own thing as well. So I had some information I wanted to share, like some little packets educating younger kids on what protesting is and just kind of like why things are going on, because I found that my niece was, I mean, she's pretty young, but she was kind of confused about what she was seeing in the news, and I wanted an easy way to explain it to her. So I had these little packets that I made that I was distributing, and while I was distributing them, I decided to do a live painting, just to kind of draw people over to the table and get them engaged. So this was a piece that I was working on. It's supposed to be Lady Justice pulling back. Justice is supposed to be blind, if you guys are familiar with the phrase and have seen the statues. And she has a scale, and she's got that blindfold over her eyes. So I thought it would be a really cool thing visually to see what that would look like if Justice was depicted as a Black woman pulling off this blindfold that's also American flag and noticing that the scales are really tipped to one side. And of course, this isn't done yet, so there's a lot more stuff that's going into it. And I think the metaphor will be a little bit easier for people to read once it's done. But, you know, it worked in getting people over to the table and getting them interested. So it did its job. All right. So if anybody has any questions or you guys want to hop in and maybe share something that you've been working on, I'd love to see, you know, what you guys are thinking.
I have a quick question for you, Julia. You are doing so much work. Do you always have so many things that you're working on?
I do feel like I stay really busy with juggling a lot of stuff, whether it's like teaching, and then there's always like something studio wise that I'm working on. It is kind of weird right now how busy I am, because I thought when the quarantine hit, I'm like, okay, well, I'll have a little extra time to work on art, but it seems like it's been even more of people looking to like connect with art, and I've been feeling inspired, because I've been home so much and having time to like think about things and channel that into creative projects. So I think I'm busier than I thought I would be, but it's in a good way.
Yeah. It's incredible to see your output.
Thank you. I'm glad you're saying that, because I always feel like I'm not doing enough.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and somebody I was having a meeting the other day, and they said something to that same effect. They're like, oh yeah, you've been doing a lot. And I'm like, I guess I have. But it never feels like it's like as much as I want to be doing. But I've heard a lot of artists say that, though, that you're always excited about what the next thing is, and you're always like ready to jump in and do that. So I feel like as artists, we have a lot of irons in different fires.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. So Haley, have you had a chance to work more on your not fairy tales, mythology?
A little bit. I'm almost finished with like the cover of the book.
Can you show us?
Yeah.
That looks great.
Thanks.
Oh, whoops, I can't see. Hold on. Oh, yeah. I like how you did the lettering too.
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent.
What's the design at the very top where it's like a triangle kind of coming down?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm thinking like maybe something into another realm or something. It's
Cool.
just like an ombre of random colors.
That's cool. I think it's important too, as artists, to recognize that things don't always have to have a meaning too. You can make decisions like, oh, that looks good there, and like visually it would be nice to have an element over on this part of the design. So that's totally cool.
Very nice. Have you done any pages inside? I know you've done some work.
Just the one on Aphrodite. But
So can you open that? Okay, yeah. Now I remember. Beautiful. So I would challenge, I like how you did the watercolor with Aphrodite. I would challenge you to try to do one of the techniques. And don't forget, you can go to YouTube on Buffalo Art Studios and watch Julia's lessons again. So if you wanted to do something, I would think with the embroidery where you add it to it, or even today, the lost wax, or wait, not lost wax. What is it called?
The wax resist.
Wax resist. And start another page. Trying to use a new technique. I think that would be exciting.
yeah.
But congrats on the cover. The cover is always so hard because it feels so precious, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Haley. Jaya, do you have anything you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I made a picture. Also, I wanted to say, Julia, your art is so nice.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I said, your art looks really nice, Julia.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I did this.
Oh, nice.
Cool. I like the puzzle pieces. That's a new element. Oh, and I see you got some of the embroidery in there as well. Very
Yeah.
nice. I like that.
And there's like
I also like how much layering you've done. I like that you've got there's the 3D elements, there's the 2D elements. I like that there's the paper in there as well, like it looks like tracing paper maybe. Yeah, there's a lot going on. That's cool.
I would love to have if you can take a nice photograph of that, that would be great. Not right now, of course.
Okay.
And
Very nice.
let's see the cover again. Let me see the cover.
It's not finished yet.
Well,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it's looking really good.
I really like these. So this has definitely changed from last time I saw it too. I really like how you're bringing in these textural elements, like the netting right there and the leaves, and I think it's giving it like another really interesting layer. So, great job.
Thank
Yeah.
So you excited to try some wax resist?
Yeah. I already have an idea on what I want to do, kind of.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Jaya. I'm so glad you're with us every week and working on this. This is really wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you for the class.
And Gaia, did you have something you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I've been doing, so I was like bored one day and I did, like kind of henna, but not really,
Oh, wow.
like with
Oh,
Sharpie.
neat. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I did one on my leg too. It's like a really big one. I have a picture of it.
What did you do it with?
Sharpie. Can you see that?
No.
A little tiny bit, but
Oh,
okay, we can hear about it.
yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked up on YouTube how to do like a stencil, and I did the stencil in charcoal, because charcoal on tracing paper will transfer better. So I did that, and I just traced over it with Sharpie.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So have you created your journal book yet? Have you put that
I have been doing a lot of drawing in my sketchbook.
Uh-huh.
Not everything's colored in yet, though.
Mhm. But you haven't made a sketchbook, right?
I haven't made like a separate one, but it's like a sketchbook continuation thing.
Okay.
Cool.
That'd be nice to see some of that design in your sketchbook too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, they do have, I mean, Sharpie will obviously work, but they have a line with the Sharpie brand now they've come out with that is for like faux henna and stuff like that. So
Oh,
you might
yeah.
want to take a look online.
I
Yeah.
have some henna coming in the mail.
Cool.
I don't know when it's gonna get here.
Nice.
Everything's
Make a
kind of up in
little
the
money
air.
with your friends. They probably would all love to have the henna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning on giving my friends tattoos.
Awesome. Oh, good. Well, thank you for sharing with us. That's really neat.
And there's more stuff in my Instagram too.
Okay.
I can put that in a comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Put it in the chat too.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely put in the comments for anyone who isn't on or doesn't have it. And that goes for everyone. If you guys want to share your Instagram pages. Just like Julia, I'm amazed every week at what you guys are doing. So many different creative projects. Very good. Well, thank you, Gaia. And I love your background. It looks so nice
Thanks.
outside. Carly, would you like to share with us now?
Yeah. Okay, I haven't had as much time as I'd like because of school, but I did work on my book. I embroidered a tree.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Good.
I love the embroidery.
And I sort of decided on a topic. I've been trying to make fashion inspired by nature. So
Nice.
I have here, it's tulip, and then there's a leaf.
Very
And,
cool.
yeah, I've been working a lot on character design. I have a bunch of different just drawings of like just people and stuff. But I've seen so much beautiful, inspiring art lately. Like, I want to make more of that. So school is ending soon, so I'll have a lot more time.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought you guys were done. Wow. I forgot how long school years are.
I know, it's always like the middle of June, but you expect it to be over.
Yeah.
Or even towards the end. When's your last day?
I think it's next week. I think it's June 14th.
Oh, okay. Yep. So the middle of June.
Yeah, about your designs, I really like that first one in particular. Are those like, is it like a skoit, like the skirt shorts kind of thing?
It's like the bottom is a tulip and the sleeves are kind of that too. It kind of does look like shorts though, like a bit.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know if you, well, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I think I'm showing how old I am. Because you guys have never, like, experienced skoits, have you?
Yeah.
I think when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that's what it was. But it looks really cool. I like it.
Thank you.
Bring them back. Yeah.
Well, very good. Thank you. So I think I would like to hear from you. And Julia mentioned something earlier about all the events this week with the protests and riots and all of that going on. Have you guys been actively engaged in that? Do you watch the news?
Yeah.
And maybe Julia has more questions, I guess, for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess that's the first question is, has anybody maybe, like, do you feel like you've learned anything that you didn't know before? Or, like, is there new information that you've taken in this week? Or does it feel like stuff that you've already, heard and dealt with? Like, where are you guys feeling, basically?
So was anything surprising to you, Jaya, this week?
I don't really watch the news, but I don't. It kind of like overwhelms me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it is really surprising how things have like turned after rioting started and like the curfews and stuff. I wasn't expecting that to happen or any of this to happen, honestly. I think what happened to both of them, like
George.
the person who had died before George Floyd and him, were just really tragic and unfortunate. And I really hope that like the rioting leads to something like really big and different this time.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Carly? Have you been watching anything or listening or?
I've seen a lot of information about it on like people's Instagram stories, about like petitions and just general news. It's hard to know. There's some false stuff out there, so it's confusing and everything. But yeah, it's really.
Yeah.
I think I keep hearing people saying like it's confusing and it's another word I heard was overwhelming. And I can see how difficult it would be, like, to have things be one way and then all at once it feels like, things are changing so rapidly, especially with already having the quarantine and the pandemic. So I can see how it would be really hard, And now, I guess, on that note too, I think now more than ever is a good time that if you're feeling those feelings of being overwhelmed or feeling any anxiety around it, definitely try to channel it into your work. I think some of the best work that I've ever made came out of a place of, feeling that like sense of, I don't know what to do, so my art is the only thing I have to do. One of my first pieces that really caught on and was noticed by people was actually a piece that I did in response to the Trayvon Martin case. If you guys would have been pretty young when that happened, but when that happened, I remember it was coming off of, like, I would say a time period where we weren't hearing much about like police brutality. And for me, it was definitely, or not police brutality, but just like racial based attacks. And I remember when I saw it originally, I saw it on Facebook. And I think my first thought was, I thought it was a Facebook hoax or just something that was made up, because I wasn't used to seeing, you know, somebody be killed because of the color of their skin. And I knew that like we experienced racism still, but I didn't think that we were going to see that anymore, especially against a kid. So, you know, I took those feelings of disbelief and discomfort, and I tried to process those through the artwork. So I'm saying that to say I think it could be really valuable for you guys, not only as an outlet, but also you may see some work that's very surprising come out of it from yourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think it is important for you guys to stay on top of the news, but not get overwhelmed too, because I think everybody, even those who are very active and activists and stuff, it is just overwhelming right now what we're seeing and what we're taking in. I had almost wish I hadn't watched the video. I saw it right when it came out, and I didn't realize what I was going to be seeing. And it was really hard. It was like, wow, you just watched a guy in real life get tortured to death. And so, you know, some of the images are really tough. And, you know, I'll watch, you know, cop or robber movies and not be affected, but to see this and know that this is what happened and all the people around there. And it's really, really hard. And it's a fine line. So you're not overwhelmed, but you're still engaged in what's happening and not letting it just go by without acknowledging it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, let me know, would you guys be interested in meeting more than once a week, or should we still stay once a week?
I think once a week's good.
Once a week's good still. Okay. I just got to get Julia's timesheet in, and then I'll be able to be approved for more hours. That's all I'm saying. So I think, you know, I've told her how important this class has been, and you know, we'll figure out a way to pay for it and keep going. And I really appreciate you talking about such a tough subject. And if you guys ever have any questions or want to share that, you know, I know some of you have, especially when you look at your Instagrams and stuff like that. So, yeah, this is always a safe place to share and be creative and put out what's on your mind.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I don't think that there's any such thing as like a wrong question. If there's something that, you know, doesn't make sense to you and we can help, let us know.
All right. Well, we'll see everyone next week. Hopefully we'll see a lot of wax resist. I can picture that really working well with so many of the books and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks again for a wonderful class, Julia.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to see you guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.